I did not plan to speak that morning. I only wanted to sit quietly in the back, sip my lukewarm tea, and watch the weekly town hall slide past like a gray cloud. The conference room was cold enough to keep everyone polite. The windows showed the city like a neat painting. I held my breath and told myself to be small. Someone else could shine. Someone else could take the blame. I wanted one normal hour. Then the microphone crackled, and my name flew through the speakers like a stone through glass. "Please stand," Derek said. He was our operations chief, famous for a smile that never reached his eyes. Everyone turned. Chairs squeaked. My own chair felt like a trap opening under me. I stood because I was trained to be professional. At 51, I knew how to keep my face calm. I set my tea down and folded my hands. Derek kept talking, syrup smooth and cruel. He spoke about organizational right-sizing, about discipline and standards, about being a team player. I recognize these words. They are the kind used when someone has already decided to make you small enough to carry out like a box. Then he said it. Effective immediately, your role is terminated. His voice was casual, as if he were reading the weather. A few gasps fluttered across the room. Someone coughed. The screen behind him lit with a slide that said, "Moving forward." It hurt more than the sentence. Moving forward as if I were a pebble under the company shoe. I heard my pulse in my ears. I thought of rent, of my mother's pills, of the savings I had guarded like a candle in wind. Shame pressed my ribs like a tight coat. I did not cry. I looked at him the way you look at a storm, with quiet, patient anger. He wanted a scene. He wanted me to choke on tears so he could seem strong. I would not give him that show. I asked, "May I know the reason?" Derek clicked his tongue. He said there had been non-compliance with a new secure access policy. He said I had ignored 2 reminders. I knew this to be false. I had asked twice for access training because my badge had started to fail at random hours. I had emails. I had timestamps. I had the kind of memory that keeps careful lists when life becomes slippery. But in that moment, I kept my voice gentle, the way you speak to a spinning top and wait for it to slow. People watched with the particular stillness of fear. They lowered their eyes to their notepads, to their phones, to the pens they did not need. A few gave me small apologetic smiles, the kind that say, "I am glad it is not me." I had given 30 years to offices like this one. I understood the choreography. Some people moved their laptops closer to their chests, as if disgrace could be contagious. I smoothed my skirt and breathed slow. I said, "I will collect my things after we are done." He smirked, as if my calm annoyed him more than any outburst could. He lifted the mic again. "Security will escort you," he said. The word security hung in the air like a threat. Heat climbed my neck, then a steady calm spread through me like warm tea. There is a place beyond humiliation where fear burns itself out. I reached that place. I thought of the nights I stayed late to fix errors others missed. I thought of a supplier audit last winter, when I noticed a simple mismatch in serial numbers that could have cost us millions. Derek had taken the credit and the bonus. I had gone home to soup and silence and a long walk to clear my head. I remembered it now with a clean kind of anger. He moved to start the next slide, eager to wash me away. The clicker failed. He shook it. The screen flickered. From the hallway came a dull clang, like a dropped toolbox. People shifted. The building seemed to take a deep breath. Derek tapped the clicker harder. He said, "Let us keep moving," through clenched teeth. I almost smiled. I kept my eyes on the floor. When you survive long enough, you learn to hide your fire under ash. I felt the flame inside me now, small, steady, and very certain about where it would burn. I had not planned to fight. I had planned to leave with my spine straight and my hands clean. But the truth has a way of asking for light at exact moments. I spoke again, still soft. "To correct the record," I said, "I requested access training on March 3rd and March 21st. Your assistant replied that the portal was down, and my badge failures were logged by maintenance." A few heads lifted. Truth is a bell. Even gentle, it rings clear. Derek waved a hand. He said, "Let us not waste time." He tried to glide to the next slide. The clicker blinked red, stubborn and honest. In that instant, something inside me shifted like a door unlocking. I did not raise my voice. I faced the room the way a lighthouse faces the sea. "One more detail," I said. "The serial mismatch we fixed last winter. Those were my notes. The bonus tied to that correction went to operations. I did not use his name. I did not need to. The room felt smaller, like the walls had leaned in to hear better. Someone near the back whispered, "Is that true?" A rumor is fast. A fact is faster when it has been hungry. Derek's smile showed a sliver of teeth. "This is not the time," he said. He glanced to the door for security that had not yet arrived. He raised the mic higher, the way men do when they fear their power is shrinking. I remembered my mother's saying, "Some people mistake microphones for authority." I could almost hear her laugh. The city outside the windows looked the same, but inside the room the weather had changed. The hush was no longer polite. It was alert. People were watching with a new kind of attention that feels like justice, right before the moment it chooses a side. The alarms blared. The alarm's voice was cold and even, repeating an instruction in a loop, yet nobody moved. People clutched their phones like talismans. Derek barked at the AV tech, trying to make the screen obey him by force of tone. I stood very still and let the sound wash over me. Sirens make some people panic. They make me remember. That room, that moment, pulled a string tied to the last few months, and the string began to unspool. It started with my badge. Some mornings it opened the gate like a friendly doorman. Other times it blinked red as if I were a stranger trespassing in my own life. I kept notes like a nurse keeps charts. Date, time, door, response. North Turnstile, 7:43 a.m. Red. Level 3 elevator, noon, 3 attempts. I saved the small rejections because I have learned that small facts build big bridges when people try to deny what they did. I kept the emails too. Training portal errors, ticket numbers, polite thank yous from people who meant well and did nothing. It was easier to ignore a quiet woman than to fix a noisy system. 2 Fridays before the town hall, the badge refused me at the lobby, and the guard scanned a master list. He frowned, then smiled too quickly, the way people smile when they want to avoid trouble. "It's a sync issue," he said. I used the visitor elevator, cheeks hot with quiet shame. That afternoon, a junior analyst named Hannah, sharp eyes, careful mind, whispered that several people had been auto-flagged when the portal went down. "They're pushing renewals through manually," she said. "It's messy." On Monday, I wrote Derek's assistant, following up on access training and repeated badge failures. She replied with a smile and, "We'll send a link as soon as the portal is stable." That link never came. Wednesday, the badge worked like a charm. Thursday, it failed twice. Friday, it granted me entry to floors I never used. That last part bothered me. Elevators should be stupid and honest. Ours suddenly seemed clever in the worst way. I did not think anyone was targeting me then. You do not assume malice when a screwdriver will explain it. But the pattern kept growing teeth. The night before the town hall, Hannah sent a screenshot of access logs because she wanted my eyes on the timestamps. There, in neat rows, my badge ID appeared in places I was not. Server corridor at 6:12 p.m. Loading dock at 9:03 p.m. I was home at both times, stirring lentils, folding laundry, watching the weather. The lines looked like thin lies trying to pass for truth. I told myself there had to be an innocent reason. Test traffic, cached entries, some dull glitch that would bore me when it got fixed. But the doubt curled up inside my ribs anyway, and watched me breathe. Back in the icy conference room, the alarm's tone thudded through our ribs. Derek spoke over it, declaring the town hall adjourned for safety. Safety. What an elastic word. He kept his eyes away from me, as if eye contact might light a fuse. People rose slowly, stunned, waiting for direction. 2 security officers appeared in the doorway with that protective stance that says they expect either smoke or anger. The taller one, a woman with square shoulders, spoke into her radio, then scanned the room with a soldier's patience. She nodded at me without hostility. I heard my mother's voice in my head. "When you are right, stand like a lighthouse." I lifted my chin and gathered my coat. The screen behind Derek flickered, went black, then showed a login prompt for an administrative dashboard I had never seen in public. Someone backstage was trying to regain control and had flashed the wrong window. The IT manager, a quiet man named Lewis, moved in front of the screen as if he could swallow the mistake with his body. His eyes met mine for a second, and in that second I saw curiosity, not blame. Curiosity is what saves companies. Blame only buries them. We filtered into the hallway, and the alarm's command echoed off the glass awards. I have never liked those frames. They feel like masks. Under the glass, names shimmered. Efficiency champion, crisis response. Derek's name appeared twice. I remembered nights when his emails arrived after 11, terse and oddly timed. He liked to own other people's dawns with his midnight assignments. I used to answer in the morning, measured and correct. Years ago, I stopped apologizing for sleeping. Boundaries are born after you have paid too much for being endlessly available. The taller officer approached me with care, not suspicion. "Ma'am," she said, "please wait here." Her voice held respect, not force. I stood beneath a photo of our charity run, all teeth and sunshine. The other officer spoke softly to Derek, who gestured with choppy hands. From the corner of my eye, I saw Lewis speaking into his phone, too fast to be casual, too intent to be routine. Hannah slipped from a side door and brushed my sleeve with a folded printout. "Trust me," she murmured. Look, when I opened it, the page showed a tidy table. Badge ID, door, timestamp, device ID. 2 columns were highlighted. The device ID tied to certain My entries did not match any reader in our building. It belonged to a mobile unit used during system tests. My stomach went cold, then steady. Someone had spun up a test profile and fed my badge number through it. That created ghost passes, as if I had been moving through walls. I did not know who would gain from this, but I knew who would point the finger if the timing was right. Hannah's note at the bottom was simple. Ask Lewis to confirm device list. She is young, but she understands chain of custody. If Lewis matched the IDs to assets, the story would stop being my word against a slide. It would become evidence. I tucked the printout under my coat sleeve like a secret letter and looked up. The hallway felt narrower. The alarm pulsed. A knot of managers hurried past with the guilty speed of people who always know more than the memo. I remembered the week the new training launched. The module crashed when too many people logged in at once. Someone suggested we stagger access by department, but operations pushed to keep momentum and open the floodgates. The system drowned. After that, Derek's updates sounded like weather reports written by a lawyer. Progress continues. Isolated incidents. I read those lines and heard one word: denial. I opened my phone and scrolled to my outbox. My messages formed a trail of breadcrumbs, requests for help, screenshots, incident numbers. I had not been loud, but I had been thorough. That is how women of my age survive in rooms that prefer myths to facts. We document. We carry our own witness. I forwarded Hannah's table to my personal email, then to my union rep, then to HR's generic inbox. Not dramatic. Careful. The stream of people thinned. Through the glass, I saw the AV tech staring at the dashboard, hands hovering, afraid to touch anything. Lewis appeared at his shoulder and typed with quick, precise motions. The screen blinked to a matrix of readers and device IDs. He pointed once, twice, and the tech nodded with alarmed understanding. I could not hear them, but I knew the rhythm of a mind waking up to mismatch. It has a silence before it speaks, like a breath before a verdict. I breathed in the antiseptic smell of new carpet and softened my jaw. Rage is a sharp tool. You must not use it to cut yourself. I thought of the times I had been talked over. The jokes that landed because I had set up the facts first. The reports that left my desk and came back with a man's signature. I let the anger move through me and leave. I wanted clarity, not smoke. A message buzzed on my phone from an unknown number. Conference room B now. I looked up and caught Hannah's eye. She shook her head and typed, "Wait." I slipped the phone away. Patience is not weakness. Patience is preparation. I counted 3 breaths and listened to the building. The siren's voice dimmed, then rose, then settled into a steady metronome. Footsteps thundered at the far end of the corridor. The 2 security officers had returned, their pace no longer cautious but urgent. They were not looking for me. They were looking past me, toward the town hall doors, where the crowd still milled in confused clusters. The taller officer pointed, and both of them broke into a run. They were coming straight for the meeting room. The officers running toward the meeting room made the air feel tight, but inside me a different door opened, the kind that leads backward. Sirens can't erase memory. They only light it. As the crowd shifted, I let my mind step into last winter, to a week of gray mornings and a spreadsheet that would not balance. That was the week the supplier reconciliation landed on my desk. A stack of invoices and serials that looked neat on top and sloppy underneath. Numbers were my small garden. I trust them because they do not charm or flatter. They just stand where they belong. These numbers would not stand still. I remember circling one item with my pen and feeling a pinch in my chest. A pump assembly had shipped twice on paper, once in life. One line was real. One line was fiction dressed as fact. I began my quiet ritual. Pull the warehouse counts, pull the shipping confirmations, pull the maintenance logs, then build a bridge from each to each. Somewhere a timestamp will lie. Somewhere a name will be misplaced. And in that misplacing there will be money. It took 3 days of patient work. I ate crackers at my desk and kept my scarf on because the vent above me believed in winter. By Thursday afternoon, I had a neat chain that proved 5 duplicated serials. I sent my memo to operations. I attached the chain. The subject line was plain. Serial mismatch. Immediate review. Derek replied with a short received. An hour later, a team meeting appeared on my calendar. My invitation buried among 10 names that like to speak first and think second. I went anyway. I sat at the edge, with my papers in a neat stack, and my patience zipped like a coat. You learn to notice the temperature of a room. That room ran warm with excitement, the kind of excitement that smells like credit nearby. Derek stood at the whiteboard with a marker and a polished narrative. He spoke of our internal vigilance, of strong cross-functional controls, of my team's rapid catch. He looked at the wall above my head, never at me. I watched a quiet erasure happen in real time. It was not loud. Loud theft has edges. This was soft theft, wrapped in compliments. I tried once to insert the facts. The 5 serials show identical device IDs on the outbound scan, I said. The weekend shift used the wrong profile. If we tie this to shift assignment, we can prevent... Derek's marker squeaked across the board. Excellent, he said, cutting across my sentence with a smile. We'll capture that in the action plan. And then he wrote his name at the top, under lead. A month later, a company-wide email announced significant savings thanks to internal vigilance. A bonus pool followed. People brought cake to the break room. Someone pushed a plate toward me with a kind laugh, and I took a bite because bitterness is a heavy sandwich to eat alone. That night, I walked the long way home and felt my mother's words again. You do not have to shout for the truth to hear you. In the weeks after, Derek's emails grew warmer toward me in a way that felt like a hand on the shoulder that is not yours. He liked to copy leadership, to tell me great attention to detail, to pitch me the smallest crumbs of flattery. I learned long ago that flattery is a rope with 2 knots, one near your neck, one in the hand that holds it. I answered with yes or no, with numbers and dates, not with thanks. I share this because it matters now. When a person takes what is not theirs, they start to arrange the furniture around the theft. They move chairs to hide the scratch on the floor. They smile more. They create new policies that make the old facts look blurry. After the bonus, a wave of tightening washed through our systems. New badge rules, new trainings, new approvals that all flowed through operations. On paper, it looked like diligence. In practice, it gave one office a new set of levers to pull. The first time my badge blinked red, I thought nothing of it. By the 3rd time, I began to write notes. By the 5th, I asked for training access. The portal experienced issues. The issues lasted exactly as long as my questions did. Then the portal worked for everyone else. When a door stays locked in a building where you work, you begin to wonder if someone changed the key while smiling at you. I stopped wondering the night Hannah shared the logs. Ghost entries marked my name at hours I was watching the late weather and stretching my back. It made me think of the duplicated serials again. How a real thing can be copied, then used as a mask to move money. A badge is only a key. In the wrong hands, it becomes a stage prop. Back in the present, the hallway hummed with the alarm's calm threat. Security pushed past with purpose that did not include me. People fell into the stairwell streams. I held my coat and the printout and the memory of winter, and I followed the wall like a quiet river follows rock. At the corner, Lewis appeared, breathless in a dignified way. He did not waste my time or his. We need to talk, he said, low enough for the alarm to hide us. His face showed focus, not fear. Your badge ID is in the logs at impossible places. I did not say I knew. I did not say thank you. I have learned to let the right person say the truth first, so it stands on its own feet. I only nodded and kept my eyes steady. His breath smelled coffee. He leaned closer. The access logs don't match. Lewis and I stepped into a quiet alcove near the compliance wall, where posters promised integrity in colors like toothpaste. The alarm kept pulsing, softer now, like a heart that refused to rest. He held his phone at an angle only I could see. Rows of entries glowed, the kind of neat computers use when hiding a mess. My badge number marched down the screen like a soldier on the wrong road. Look at the device column, he said. See the prefix? I saw it. MBL017, MBL017, again and again, tied to doors I rarely used. At hours I was never here. MBL stood for Mobile Reader, a portable unit for testing during upgrades. We only used 2 in the building. They lived in the server room cage. No one should route real credentials through them on a live weekday. How long? I asked. 3 weeks, he said. Intermittent. Whoever did this wanted noise, not a clean line. Noise looks like human error. Clean lines look like fraud. He was giving me language I already knew, but hearing him say it made the ground settle. When a second mind draws the same map, the path becomes real. Who has keys to the cage? I said. Operations leadership, he answered. Me, the night engineer, and facilities. I thought of Derek's emails, of the way he liked to own access by calling it responsibility. I thought of the bonus and the new policy that had turned training into a bottleneck. A picture was forming, but I would not name it yet. Names are heavy. You only set them down once. Hannah appeared like a whispered answer, stopping 2 paces away. She was steady, even with the alarm humming. I checked cameras for the server corridor, she said. There's a blind spot where the rolling ladder is parked. Chain of custody, I murmured. Lewis sent a note to legal with a timestamp. My respect for him rose. We moved with the crowd toward a side stairwell that fed into the service floor. It smelled like dust and yesterday's coffee. Every few steps, the alarm spoke its line like a tired actor. I watched faces, patience, boredom, fear, curiosity. Halfway down, a manager brushed my sleeve and whispered, I'm sorry. The apology wasn't for the alarm. It was for the public firing, and for the long season before it, when she had watched too much and said too little. Take care, I said. Not every witness is brave on the same day. On the service floor, the noise softened to a far hum. We stepped into a corridor of concrete and silver pipes. Lewis stopped at a locked gray door and held up his badge. It flashed green. If anyone asks, you're with me, he said. The room beyond was cool and bright, the light of always awake machines. Server racks stood like patient black trees. At the far wall, a cage with a wire door kept the mobile units and diagnostic gear. Inside, 2 small readers sat on a metal shelf. One had a cracked corner. A paper tag hung above with a serial number from Hannah's printout. Lewis checked the logbook on the hook. The last entry showed a sign out 2 nights ago by J. Coles, approved by Ops Admin. The signature under Ops Admin was a narrow slash that pretended to be a name. The time was 8:57 p.m. I thought of the ghost access on my badge at 9:03 p.m. The numbers aligned. Who is Coles? I asked. Shift tech, Lewis said. Quiet, careful. He hesitated. Good kid. I let the word kid hang. Who approved? I said, pointing at the slash. Ops rotates that authority, but the initials look like Derek's. He pulled the approval workflow. Without saying it, he said it. The door we were pushing on had a familiar hinge. I stepped closer to the cage and looked at the readers. The cracked one had a smudge on its side, a half moon where a thumb likes to rest. Small tools build big lies when used by big egos. I tucked my hands into my coat so I would not touch. Hannah produced a tiny flashlight and traced the shelf edges. Dust, she said, except here. She circled a clean arc where something had rested, then moved. She took 2 photos with her phone, catching the tag in frame. Then she tucked the phone away and stood very still. Lewis checked the cabinet's rear power strip and found 1 extra plug. Portable battery, he said, following the wire to a pocket unit velcroed behind a brace. So the reader could run off-grid. He looked at me and didn't hide his anger. Someone wanted this unit invisible to facility's power audit. In my chest, the slow flame burned brighter. "Lewis," I said, "we do this by the book." "The book," he said. "Yes." He took photos, then called the legal extension and used precise words. "I am preserving evidence. I need a witness." He asked for the counsel I trusted. Then he told us to step back until she arrived. It felt like an hour. It was 8 minutes. I used those minutes to breathe and measure my anger. Focused. I remembered the duplicates, the bonus, the new policies, the portal failures, the red flashes on my badge, and the ghost walks that painted me in places I had not stood. I saw the pattern as if someone had opened the curtains. I did not say it. The room's bright cold advised me to wait. When counsel arrived, she logged the items, sealed the shelf with numbered tape, and asked for brief statements. Her eyes held mine for a second. I saw recognition, not pity. The alarm somewhere above us cut for a breath, then returned. My fingers went cold, but my voice stayed calm. Now. My phone buzzed with a message from a number not in my contacts. 4 words hit like a gavel. "Check the server room." The message, "Check the server room," felt like a hand on my shoulder, calm and urgent. I showed it to counsel. She nodded once and we stepped back into the bright cold. The alarm above us thudded like a soft hammer. Lewis keyed the wire cage under her supervision. The numbered tape she'd placed was still intact. Inside, the portable reader, MBL 017, waited like a small lie pretending to sleep. Counsel snapped on gloves and lifted it into a clean tray. "We'll mirror the memory and seal the original," she said. Hannah unfolded her printout and matched serials, device IDs, and times. "Your badge shows at 6:12 p.m. in the server corridor," she whispered. "Building reader says no entry. Only this unit logs it." I said, "Who allowed this device to touch live systems?" Lewis opened a maintenance console. Under a pane labeled Integration Overrides, an exception glowed. MBL 017, whitelisted for testing window, dates covering 3 weeks. Exactly my ghost walks. He clicked Audit Trail. The chain appeared. Request by Ops Admin, approval by Dear Ops, note. Temporary, per policy 9B. Counsel leaned in. Export, hash, and parallel copy. Hannah pointed at a second line. Ensure user compliance reports reflect anomalies for coaching. I let the heat settle low and steady. Footsteps hit the corridor. The gray door swung open. Derek entered with 2 managers like bookends. He smiled at counsel, then at me, then at the tray. "We're under safety protocol," he said. "This room is for authorized personnel." Counsel raised her badge. "We're preserving evidence." "Please step back," he said. "Routine tests before the alarm. Old hardware. Unreliable." Lewis turned the monitor toward him. "The override shows your authorization." Derek's smile thinned. "That pane is internal. Operations sign-off is required. Legal sign-off suffices," counsel said. "Step back." He pointed at Hannah. "Who are you?" "Analytics," she said steady. "Badge logs," I spoke gently. "If this is routine, the records will say so." "We're watching." He offered kindness that sounded like policy. "Let's reset your status," he told me. "Call it a systems error." "Reset the truth," I said. "Not just my status." The export chimed complete. Lewis verified the hash, saved to 2 drives, bagged 1, logged the time. The alarm tone changed. He tapped the security feed. The town hall screen upstairs had awakened, showing the very dashboard no one meant the company to watch. Overrides, outages, anomalies, approvals. A banner scrolled. Live incident. Unauthorized access propagation. "That's a test banner," Derek said too quickly. "Mirror it here," counsel said. Lewis projected it onto a white column. The list stacked like a small tree of lies. My phone buzzed. "Check edit history for policy 9B. Hannah was already there. 6 weeks ago, she said. "Approver. Dire Ops." Language softened, from requires joint sign-off to may proceed with email approval. "We're losing focus. We should evacuate," Derek said. "We will," counsel said. After one last step, Lewis opened the panel listing elevated keycards. 4 total, 2 legal, 1 facilities, 1 operations with full override. He pulled the last 20 events for the ops card ending 42D. Commands filled the screen. Whitelist add, whitelist extend, policy edit, portal pause. The most recent line refreshed in real time. Override attempt. Admin 42D, server cage access, status, denied by legal hold. Another line appeared. Loud as text can be. Security alert. Admin keycard 42D flagged for misuse. A name resolved beside the code. Derek. Derek's face hardened. This is political, he said. You're misreading development work. Counsel's voice stayed level. Then development will have clean records. We're collecting them. She gestured to the tray. And this device is now evidence. Let's not embarrass the company on a day with alarms blaring, he tried. The alarms are telling us to be careful, I said. Not to be blind, Lewis's console pinged. Town hall feed is pushing to all conference rooms, he reported. On the screen, Policy 9B showed requester ops admin. Approver dear ops. Note. Email approval sufficient. The camera panned across rows of faces upstairs. Very quiet. Derek stepped closer to the cage, eyes on the tray. Chain of custody, he said smoothly. If this leaves my area without my sign-off, you're violating your area? Counsel asked. Facilities owns the hardware. Security owns the audit. Legal owns preservation. Operations owns neither. He aimed his voice at me again. You're making this personal. I felt my mother in my chest. Stand like a lighthouse. I'm making it documented, I said. You made it personal when you used my name. Hannah's phone buzzed. She glanced, then lifted her eyes. Camera logs show a blind spot by the rolling ladder, she said. But the ladder moved during 2 events, both minutes before my ghost entries. Lewis nodded. We'll seize the ladder casters for residue, he said. I admired his calm. Another ping. The system added a red tag to the feed. Admin 42D privileges temporarily suspended. Derek flinched. The taller security officer entered, eyes sharp, radio at her shoulder. She took in the tray, the counsel, the screen. We have an instruction, she said to Derek. Please surrender your keycard pending review. He scoffed. On whose authority? Chief counsel and head of security, she said, offering a clear envelope. For a second I thought he might comply with a sigh. Instead, he shifted his weight, then raised his badge toward the reader by the cage. The reader blinked red, blocked by the legal hold. On the town hall feed, a new banner flashed across the entire company. Live alert. Admin 42D attempting restricted action. A cursor hovered over the name field. The system resolved it for everyone watching. Derek. The console chimed once more and printed a fresh line. Secondary admin activity detected. Source unknown. If you were in my place, would you accept the quick reset or push forward and risk the storm? Tell me below. I'm watching. The room held its breath. Even the fans seemed to pause. They were tracing the second admin. Secondary admin activity detected. The words felt like a wire humming in my teeth. The server room kept its steady winter light while the alarm softened to a patient chime. Counsel nodded at Lewis. Mirror the incident feed to every screen, she said. If it's honest, it will live in daylight. Keys clicked. The dashboard leapt from the console to the town hall projector upstairs and to the white column beside us. Boxes filled with dates, device IDs, and approvals. Under Policy 9B, the track changes showed like stitches. Requires joint sign-off quietly turned into may proceed with email approval. Approver, DireOps. The timestamp glowed like a stubborn ember. Next came my 2 emails, March 3rd and March 21st. Training access, badge failures, with ticket numbers stacked like careful seeds. The assistant's apology sat beneath. Portal unstable. Will send link. Many names were masked for privacy. Mine was not. This was my truth. I wanted it to stand. Derek tried a smile. Development logs are noisy, he said. People are confusing simulation with production. His voice reached for calm like a hand reaching for a coat that wasn't there. Then the signatures will separate them, Counsel replied. Show the test IDs, Lewis filtered. On the left, real tests appeared, signed, dated, tidy. On the right, the anomalies remained naked. Whitelists extended at odd hours. Portal pauses at shift change. Mobile reader MBL017 allowed to pass only 4 badges. Mine, 2 names I did not know, and a new operations temp. The chat bar on the broadcast flickered alive. Short lines, clipped breath. Is this live? Who owns 42D? Check camera feed. Hannah sent stills. My desk at 6:12 p.m. Me watering the plant I never name, while the ghost log swore I was in the server corridor. It is hard to argue with a picture of your own hand holding a cup. The taller security officer's radio crackled. She listened, nodded, and held out a clear envelope. Please surrender your keycard, Mr. Derek. He delayed 1 second too long, then dropped it in with theatrical grace. The envelope made a soft sound, like a decision. Lewis pulled a listing for elevated cards. 4 total, legal, facilities, and admin 42D under operations. He opened the last 20 commands. The screen printed a neat story. Whitelist add, extend, policy edit, portal pause. The most recent line kept blinking. Attempted restricted action. Denied by legal hold. Derek turned toward me, voice honeyed. Let's fix your status now, he said. Call this a systems hiccup. We can move forward. We will move forward, I answered. After we move through the truth. Counsel gestured. Find the second admin, Lewis queried. An orphaned service account surfaced. Ops service. Created the week 9B changed. With blank owner fields and a dead recovery phone. First login, midnight Sunday. Last login 20 minutes ago. The IP mapped to a hot desk in operations. Who sits there? I asked. Rotating seat, Hannah said. That temp in the afternoons. Derek when he wants a quiet corner? Enough, Derek said, warmth cracking. We're in an emergency. Don't feed gossip. Then help us close it, Counsel said. Name the owner. Produce the sign-offs. Lewis opened the camera over that desk row. The frame caught a jacket on a chair, a mug, a left hand leaving the keyboard. The angle was poor. The time matched the login. He hovered over disable. Announce and capture, Counsel said. He sent a network message. Ops service suspended. Functions mirrored by IT. He snapshot every active session, then pressed the key. Across the building, small windows sighed and went dark. The dashboard cleared to gray for everything except a single blinking line. Upstairs, the town hall had stopped pretending to evacuate. People stood in clusters, faces tilted to the screen like sunflowers to weather. On the side chat, voices lost their jokes. HR here? Legal on? Replay the edit. The projector obediently rolled back to the moment 9B bent. The cursor under DurOps felt heavier than text. Derek stepped into the space by the console. Eyes on the HDMI cable like it was an escape hatch. The officer shifted. He moved anyway, quick and precise. The way a person moves when the argument has ended, and the hands want a simpler tool. Stop, Counsel said. He didn't. The picture flickered, then stabilized, then tore at the edges. A murmur traveled through the ceiling like rain. I felt a cold pity. You cannot unplug a fact once enough eyes have watched it breathe. Lewis reached without force and caught Derek's wrist. Chain of custody, he said. The officer eased closer, body forming a clean, polite corner. Derek's smile thinned to paper. Hannah whispered, Look. She had pulled the system notes attached to MBL017. Under purpose, someone had typed, Ensure user compliance reports reflect anomalies for coaching. Coaching. The word sat in my chest like a small stone. Every woman of my age knows that kind of coaching. On the broadcast, the bonus email from Winter appeared, with triumphed vigilance, and the comment stream filled with quiet knives. She found it. Who took credit? How deep? People were no longer bored. They were awake. Enough spectacle, Derek said. You're harming the company. Spectacle was firing me on a stage, I said softly. This is a ledger. The alarm changed tone again, procedural now, as if the building had decided we were past panic and into paperwork. Counsel spoke into her headset. HR to town hall. Security to operations floor. Preserve all assets labeled ops service. Her voice was a steady harbor. Lewis typed a final note into the incident record. Attempt to interrupt projection during evidence mirroring. He hit enter. The word recorded appeared beside admin 42D. Derek shifted his weight and lunged for the cable. The projector blinked. The feed stuttered, and for a breath the room went white. Upstairs, 100 breaths caught, waiting to see what survived the glare. The cable strained. The picture fought back like a tide. The picture didn't die. It steadied, like a heartbeat deciding to survive. Upstairs, the town hall exhaled. Down here, in the cool light, the cable hung crooked in Derek's hand, and the officer held the envelope open like a quiet ultimatum. Counsel's eyes were calm, unreadable, the way a lake looks before you notice its depth. She did not raise her voice. She only nodded to the door. HR arrived in neutral colors, faces arranged for empathy. Behind them came another woman I had only seen in policy trainings. Senior corporate counsel, the one who makes words feel like measurements. No bag, just a small notebook with a single elastic band. People call her the quiet lawyer. I once watched her settle a contract with 3 sentences and a silence that moved men into agreement. She looked at Derek, then at me, then at the console. We will proceed in order, she said. First preservation, second facts, third decisions. No energy leaked from her voice. It made me feel steady. Derek tried for charm. We can do this later, he said. The building is under alarm. The building is under control, the quiet lawyer said. Please step aside. He didn't. The taller officer drew one patient breath and stepped into his space with the kind of courtesy that does not negotiate. Derek stepped back, set the cable down, and smoothed his jacket as if fabric could make the moment less sharp. HR spoke my name, soft. We regret how the message was delivered, the woman said. In light of ongoing systems issues, we are pausing any action connected to your employment until a review is complete. Noted, I said. Hands still. Also, she added, you will not be escorted from the building. I nodded once. Dignity is best accepted quietly. The quiet lawyer stood at the console with Lewis. Show the chain beginning with Policy 9B, she said. He pulled it up. The edit, the softened language, the approvals. Show source, she added. He tapped the tiny icon people often ignore. Author metadata, IP, and session notes appeared, placing the cursor in operations at 11:41 p.m., 6 weeks earlier, under admin 42D. Mirrored? She asked. Mirrored and hashed, Lewis said. She looked at the tray where MBL 017 rested. And the device? Imaged. Original sealed. She turned to me. You logged training requests and badge failures. Yes, I said. Twice in March. I kept ticket numbers. My badge was also logged in places I wasn't. Do you consent to share personal device timestamps for those days? I do, I said. They will show I was home. She nodded once, as if she expected nothing else. Then she asked Hannah to summarize. Hannah's voice was clean. She explained the mobile reader, the blind spot by the rolling ladder, and the way the ladder moved right before my ghost entries. She spoke like someone who respects the listener's time. The quiet lawyer turned to Derek. Your perspective. We were running live fail tests for a broader rollout, he said, smile tired. My admin sign-off is a formality. Portal pauses? Standard. We flagged anomalies to coach users who were slow to comply. Coach? The lawyer said, without tone. We wanted people to take access seriously. She let the word wanted cool. Name the owner of the service account labeled Ops Service. A shared account, he said. Legacy. Legacy implies the past, she said. This was created 6 weeks ago. Silence held the room like a bowl. Derek shifted. We can produce emails. You will, she said. After we collect devices. He blinked. Devices? Phones, laptop, she said. Yours and the temps who sat at the hot desk. Also the casters on the rolling ladder. She wrote nothing. Her memory felt like a net you don't notice until you try to swim through it. HR whispered to her. She listened, nodded, then turned back to me. Would you like a representative present for the remainder of this process? Yes, I said. I've messaged mine. Good. We will wait. The alarm above us changed cadence again. A lower tone that felt less like fear and more like procedure. The quiet lawyer read the red tag. Admin 42D privileges temporarily suspended. Who retains authority to broadcast to all rooms? She asked. IT, legal, security, Lewis said. Operations lost that capability when we mirrored. Excellent. She took one step toward Derek. You will not touch any console or cable without permission. You will answer briefly. You will not speak to staff except HR and counsel until we are done. She didn't wait for agreement. She turned a page and wrote a time. In my chest, an old knot loosened. Some moments repair the spine you have been carrying for years. Upstairs, the broadcast feed steadied. People were no longer asking if this was real. They were watching in silence, the way we watch weather turn from wind to storm to cool air. A few brave names posted facts, dates, memos, approvals. Most said nothing and simply watched. The quiet lawyer began the questions. Who requested MBL 017's whitelist? Ops admin, Lewis answered. Who approved? Dire Ops. She looked at Derek. That is your position. Approvals flow to me, he said. Did you read the purpose note? Which note? Ensure user compliance reports reflect anomalies for coaching. He hesitated. The language is poor. I didn't write it. But you approved it. I approve many items. We will help you remember this one, she said. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him, not because he was cornered, but because he had believed the room would never change its mind. He had mistaken habit for loyalty. People watch, and people remember. Lewis's console pinged with a tone I had not heard. A new banner marched across the screen with calm cruelty. Data containment triggered. Origin, admin, 42D, scope, operations shared drive. The projector upstairs flashed the same words. A hush moved through the ceiling like snow. That is not me, Derek said. Containment is a lock, Lewis said. It fires when the system sees high risk. What action? The quiet lawyer asked. Mass delete request, he said. Caught and sandboxed. HR exhaled in one sharp breath. The console printed like a verdict. Mass delete request issued from device. Ops LT3. Credential. Admin 42D. Status. Quarantined. Hannah's eyes widened. Ops LT3 is the temp's laptop, she said. Checked out under Derek's approval. The room felt narrower, as if the walls wanted to listen better. I watched Derek's hands. Empty, but his jaw worked like a man chewing a lie he didn't want to swallow. The quiet lawyer's voice made time behave. Security, she said. Please secure Ops LT3. Legal hold on all operations hardware. HR, prepare suspension documents pending investigation. Derek took one step back, then another, as if the floor had tilted, and then the second alarm sounded. Deeper. Colder. The building's voice when it knows someone just tried to burn the evidence. The second alarm rolled through the ducts like distant thunder. Lower than the first, steady as a drum that warns, not panics. People paused in doorways and looked up without moving. The quiet lawyer's eyes narrowed a fraction, listening for the part only she could hear, the signal inside the noise. Lewis glanced at the console and spoke in a clear voice. Containment holds, he said. No data left the sandbox. The delete request is frozen. Relief touched the room the way shade touches a hot street. HR loosened their shoulders. The taller officer spoke into her radio, then set the envelope back on the table like a line no one would cross. Derek stood against the rack, posture still tall, but something behind it had cracked. I felt no joy at that. Justice, when it arrives, is cool, not sweet. It lets you breathe. It does not give you candy. Upstairs, the town hall remained full. The broadcast showed rows of faces. Confused, then focused, then set. Colleagues had stopped watching like an audience and started watching like witnesses. I felt their weight with me. That is the moment a room turns. Not when one person shouts, but when many decide they will not look away. The quiet lawyer lifted her chin. We proceed, she said. Security, secure Ops LT3. HR, prepare suspension documents. Legal will supervise the collection. She did not raise her volume. Authority lived in the order of her words. Hannah scrolled, jaw tight, eyes calm. "There's more," she said. "Op service touched 3 coaching reports. 2 names I recognize. One is mine." She showed the screen. Under a line that claimed those users needed reminders, I saw timestamps that overlapped with verified completions. The reports framed ordinary diligence as failure. The officer looked at Derek. "Do you intend to cooperate?" He spread his hands. "You're turning process into theater," he said. "Systems fail, we keep the company moving." "You keep yourself moving," I said. "Even. You called it coaching. What you wanted was cover." Facts had grown legs and were walking around on their own. The quiet lawyer nodded once, as if to say, "Let them." A ping. The projector upstairs flashed a slide. My serial mismatch memo from Winter, now in the broadcast record. Someone added a note. Initial discovery by redacted, documented on date, redacted. People began to murmur, the kind that tastes like courage. A woman from facilities spoke first, voice carrying clean. "She caught a vent hazard last year," she said. "Saved us a shutdown." A man from finance raised his hand and named a pricing catch I had logged. Others added small, exact stories. They did not look at me while they spoke. They looked at each other, building a ledger of shared memory. The story stopped belonging to me alone and became ours. Derek tried to fold his arms, then thought better of it. He did not understand that argument ends when testimony begins. The quiet lawyer asked short questions, and people answered plainly. Who edited 9B? Who borrowed MBL 017? Who authorized the hot desk? Who renamed joint sign-off to email approval? With each answer, the air grew simpler. Not lighter, not yet, but simpler, like a knot relaxing. Hannah's phone lit with messages, then settled. She caught my eye and made a tiny fist, not victory, but resolve. I breathed slower. I felt the ache that comes when a weight begins to lift. It is the last memory of strain leaving the muscle. HR, the quiet lawyer said. We will take statements from those who wish to speak. HR nodded, less theatrical now, more human. I watched faces I had worked with for years. Some kind, some tired, some newly brave, step forward or step back according to who they had always been. Not everyone spoke. Enough did. Derek attempted one more turn of the wheel. You are misreading intent, he said. We sought compliance. We protected the building. The building knew the difference, the officer said, nodding at the second alarm. It called your request what it was. The quiet lawyer checked her watch. We will adjourn this room for 30 minutes while security relocates us to a neutral space, she said. Before that, operations leadership is suspended pending investigation. She did not look at Derek when she said leadership. She spoke to the role, not the man. He laughed without air. On what grounds? On the grounds that we need light, she said. The officer stepped closer with a clear bag and a form. Derek stared at the wall above my head again, the way he had in winter when the board carried his name in my work. Habit is a powerful drug. He reached for it and found it gone. Upstairs, someone clapped once sharply, like a stamp on paper. Then silence, then a softer sound. A chair sliding back as colleagues started to move, not out of panic, but into purpose. Some days a company acts like a person learning to stand up after a long sleep. I felt the question I had to ask. When we relocate, I said to the quiet lawyer, will the record continue to broadcast? She gave me the answer I hoped for. We will keep the lights on. For the first time since my name came through the speakers, I let my shoulders drop a fraction. I was not soft. I was prepared. The broadcast kept rolling from room to room, steady as a clock. Timestamps ticked in the corner, turning rumor into record. People from compliance, procurement, and even marketing posted short confirmations. Dates, attachments, approvals. No speeches, just receipts. I realized I was watching something rare for any workplace. A group deciding together to remember accurately and to act accordingly. The officer's radio crackled again. Copy, she said. Her eyes sharpened. She gestured to her partner, then looked to the door. Boots approached at a jog. Security was coming back. Not for me. They did not come running for a fire. They came for a decision. Two officers entered with a slim gray case between them, the kind used when people collect devices without breaking the moment. The quiet lawyer nodded once. HR folded their papers. Lewis locked his console. Hannah stood to my left, our sleeves touching like flags in the same wind. Operations leadership, the officer said. Level. You are suspended pending investigation. Please surrender company devices. The envelope lay open like a small door. Derek stared at it as if it were a strange animal. His jaw shifted. Then he slid his phone and laptop forward with careful fingers, each motion theatrical, each pause a plea for sympathy that would not come. The officer sealed the bag, wrote the time, then offered him the form. He signed like a man drawing a line he hoped to walk over later. The quiet lawyer took the bag with attention that turned plastic into ritual. She did not gloat. She did not soften. She simply did the job. Thank you, she said to security. We will relocate to Conference North. IT will maintain the broadcast. HR will coordinate statements. Legal will hold the evidence. People began to move. The alarm dropped to a faint pulse, a heartbeat you hear only when you are quiet. I gathered my coat and my notes. Hannah lifted the tray with MBL 017, and Lewis walked beside her like a careful shadow. We stepped into the corridor, now like a hallway after the rush, bright, ordered, intimate. As we walked, colleagues made space without staring. One woman squeezed my hand. A man from finance nodded once, the nod you save for truth finally getting the floor. It felt less like victory and more like a procession for something right. Conference North had glass on two sides, the city blue and gray beyond it. The projector was already awake. The broadcast followed us like a patient river, showing the timeline with stamps, policy edit, whitelist, portal pause, ghost entries, mass delete attempt, containment. Under it, a new line blinked. Suspension executed. I wanted to dislike the word. I chose to like the accuracy. We sat. HR poured water. The quiet lawyer looked at me. You have the right to request reinstatement now, she said. You also have the right to decline and ask for terms that reflect harm. It is your choice. Choice tasted unfamiliar after a morning of orders. I will listen before I choose, I said. And I want my record cleared today, on the broadcast with the same volume used to fire me. Done, she said. Lewis typed. Upstairs, the town hall screen flashed. Termination action reversed. Employee in good standing. The room that had made me small now said my name with respect. It did not undo the sting. It cleaned the wound. Hannah leaned in. The temp replied to IT, she whispered. He is waiting at security. The quiet lawyer nodded. We'll interview him with counsel present, she said. He may be a hand, not a plan. We took statements. Simple, clear, timed. A facilities tech had moved the rolling ladder for a late-night filter and found it moved again before dawn. A night engineer had seen a manager he would not name near the cage. Then the temp arrived, cap in his hands. The officer guided him to a chair and set the laptop on the table. The quiet lawyer greeted him with the same tone she used for everyone. Human first, job second. He spoke in a rush, then slower when he felt safe. He had been asked to help with testing, after hours for overtime that never showed. The service account existed before his first night. Approvals came by email from ops leadership. He looked at his shoes when he said the name. He said it anyway. Derek. Silence met the word. Not shock, confirmation. The room had already drawn that map. The name pinned it to the wall. Thank you, the quiet lawyer said. You will be treated as a witness while we review. Do not speak about this outside legal and HR. He nodded, relief spilling out in a breath that trembled. When he left, the room felt lighter. The quiet lawyer looked at me, then at HR. We can offer reinstatement with back pay and a public apology now, she said. Or a separation with generous terms and a statement of honor. Your dignity is the priority. I looked at the city. Clouds gathered over the river. I saw my desk, my plant, the vent that made winter and summer, the spreadsheets that calmed me, and the knives I kept wrapped in patience. I also saw my mother's small kitchen, sunlight on chipped tile. I turned back. I will not return, I said. I want the apology on the same screens that carried my firing. I want records corrected. I want my references clean and strong. And I want a separation that recognizes what this cost. HR did not frown. "We can do that," the woman said. "Today." "Then do it," I said. "And add one more thing." I looked at Lewis, then Hannah, then the officer, then the quiet lawyer. "Make sure no one else's badge becomes a ghost. Fix the blind spots. Fix the policy that was bent. Teach from the approvals." "We will," the quiet lawyer said. Lewis tapped a command. On the screen, a header appeared. Remediation plan. Steps in plain words. Restore joint sign-off. Remove service accounts. Close blind spots. Audit mobile units. Publish anonymized timeline. HR slid a document toward me. "We can sign now," she said, "or after council reviews." "I will have it reviewed," I said, "but the apology goes first." She nodded and rose. The door opened. Security returned. Their faces were set, and a second clear envelope waited between them, marked with a red tag, but they were not alone for this final step. Security returned with the red-tagged envelope, and behind them came the person no one expected in a hallway that afternoon, the CEO. He looked at the quiet lawyer, then the officer, then me, not through me, not over me, at me. "We're keeping the broadcast on," he said. "Sunlight for everyone. Proceed." The quiet lawyer summarized in 5 sentences. The policy edit, the unauthorized whitelists, the ghost badge entries, the attempted mass delete, the evidence preserved. She did not use adjectives. She did not need them. The officer presented the red-tagged envelope. "Final collection," she said. "Backups, fobs, and the spare badge." Derek laughed once, the kind of laugh that sounds like a door hitting a wall. "You're making a spectacle for morale," he said. "This will scare investors." The CEO's answer was dull steel. "What scares investors is rot." He signed the suspension notice with a pen that clicked like a metronome. "Legal will finish. HR will communicate." He paused. "And we will apologize where we harmed." He turned to me. "We failed you," he said. Publicly. It was not a speech. It was a sentence. He faced the projector. "Broadcast the correction now." On screens across the building, in rooms smelling of coffee, the message replaced the incident feed. "We apologize for the public termination of an employee in good standing. The action is reversed. We made errors in process and leadership." It scrolled without decoration. People in different cities watched the same words at the same minute. Later, an email would arrive with signatures and timestamps. But for now, the company spoke out loud. Where it had accused me, HR slid the agreement across the table. The terms were decent: separation by choice, back pay, acknowledgement of harm, a letter of honor to accompany references, counseling if I wished it, a donation to a charity in my mother's name. It was not a gift. It was a correction. I read each line. The quiet lawyer waited, patient as a lighthouse, while the CEO stayed where he was, not hovering, not gone. I thought of my plant on the desk, of the window that never quite closed, of my co-workers' small brave statements, of the night streets where I walked out anger in old sneakers. I thought of the young ones like Hannah, learning how to tell the truth without fraying. I thought of the women my age who carry folders of receipts because life taught us to bring our own witness. And I thought of my mother, who would have said, "Take your dignity and leave nothing else behind." "I accept," I said. "And I would like 5 minutes on the broadcast." The quiet lawyer looked at the CEO. He nodded. 5, she said. I stood where the projector light could find my shoulders and keep my face soft. I spoke to the rooms full of colleagues I had shared air with for years. "If you are watching, thank you for staying," I said. Today showed me that policy is only honest when people are. Keep your records, ask for the second pair of eyes. Hold doors open with your foot if you must, but do not let anyone close them on you. And when you have power, use it to make things clear, not small. I did not preach. I did not praise. I only named the things that keep a workplace from sliding into a bad habit. If anyone tried to coach you with false failure, I said, you will be made whole. I looked at Hannah. If you ever think you are too junior to speak, remember today. Facts are not senior or junior. They are true. The quiet lawyer signaled 1 minute left. I finished simply. I am choosing to leave. Not from fear, from peace, and from faith that sunlight will stay on in this building. I nodded to the officer, to Lewis, to HR, to the CEO, and last to the lens that watched us all. We signed. HR countersigned. Devices were sealed. Security walked Derek out without a wrist on his arm and without a camera on his face. The broadcast dimmed to a still banner. Remediation in progress. The second alarm stopped, replaced by the usual hum of vents and the shy sounds of people returning to their work. Hannah pressed my hand. "Tea?" she asked. "Tea," I said. We collected my plant and the sweater that remembered every winter. Colleagues found simple words, "proud of you," "about time," "stay in touch," and placed them like smooth stones. I gave my access badge to the officer, not as surrender, but as completion. She slipped it into the envelope and wrote the final time. At the elevator, the CEO waited. "We will publish the timeline," he said. "Names where they matter, roles where they don't. If you want to review the language, legal will send it." "Make it plain," I said. "Plain keeps." He smiled with the tired relief of a man who plans to sleep. "Plain it is." I stepped into the afternoon with a plant, a sweater, and a spine that felt taller than in the morning. The city smelled like rain that had not decided yet. I walked toward the bus stop, the good ache of an ending finding its proper place in my bones. When my phone buzzed with messages from friends and old coworkers, I answered some and left others for later. Peace includes the right to be slow. Before I crossed the street, I turned once to look at the glass building. Sun flashed on it, sudden and bright like a bell you can see. Inside, people were fixing what needed fixing. Outside, I was free to choose what came next. If this were your story, would you have stayed after the apology, or chosen to leave as I did? Say why below and share this with someone who needs the reminder to keep receipts and keep their dignity.